Just because you know it's coming doesn't mean you can do a damn thing to stop it. I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 even more best I'm dead and I know it movie moments. 10. Nuke to the gut. Broken Arrow. John Woo's famously trashy mid-90s action film Broken Arrow wraps up with the fittingly bombastic demise of antagonist Major Vic Deakins. In the final battle, Deakins and hero Captain Riley Hale are fighting over a remote control which can arm or disarm Deakins' stolen nuclear warhead, which happens to have been stashed on board a train. In the end, Hale beats Deakins down and grabs the remote, which he uses to deactivate the nuke mere seconds before the train carriage housing the nuke crashes into the halted carriage in front of it. The impact causes the disarmed nuke to be catapulted forward with incredible force, giving Deakins just enough time to stand to his feet as he realizes what's about to happen. As the nuke travels towards him like a bullet, he smirks knowingly, seemingly taking some sick satisfaction in how thoroughly demolished he's about to be. The impact of the nuke would surely kill Deakins instantly, but to rub salt in the wound, he's catapulted into a bunch of flaming barrels, causing him to explode in what is truly one of John Woo's John Wooiest scenes. 9. Mauled by a merman. The Cabin in the Woods. In Drew Goddard's delicious horror satire The Cabin in the Woods, Steve Hadley is one of the room technicians responsible for operating the central ritual. Hadley expresses a deep desire to see the merman show up as one of the ritual's selected monsters, given that he's never seen the creature, and in the film's insane climax, he most certainly gets his wish. When the heroes press the purge button, which releases the incarcerated monsters into the facility, a wounded Hadley finds himself coming face to face with the merman, which slithers out of the darkness to Hadley's fascination. After a few beats of staring at the monster though, Hadley snaps back to reality and quips with frustration, "Come on," noting the irony that his first sighting of the merman will also be his last. The merman then makes short work of Hadley, mauling him and spraying his remains through its gills. Beautiful. 8. You arrogant ass! You've killed us! The Hunt for Red October. The Hunt for Red October's thrilling climax sees Soviet sub V.K. Konovalov fire a torpedo at Red October, but the vessel manages to make an extreme evasive maneuver, which ends up causing the torpedo to fire directly back into V.K. Konovalov itself, blowing it to hell. In a tremendously satisfying moment, Captain Tupolev, the commanding officer of the Konovalov, gets a few seconds to soak in the fatal magnitude of his failure, as his executive officer scolds him, "You arrogant ass! You've killed us!" And because that's not humiliating or awesome enough, director John McTiernan gives us a sharp close-up of Tupolev's sweaty, terror-filled brow just before the vessel is blown to smithereens by its own weapon. 7. Limo Ride to Hell. True Lies. James Cameron's criminally underrated actioner True Lies dispatches its secondary antagonist, antiques dealer Juno Skinner, in fittingly savage fashion after she kidnaps Harry Tasker's wife Helen. While Helen and Juno are fighting in the back of a limo, Harry stages a daring attempt to get his spouse to safety before the limo plunges off the end of a destroyed bridge, because the car's being driven by a dead guy and there's no chance of stopping it. After Helen knocks Juno out, Harry flies close to the limo in a chopper and tries to grab her. We then cut back to Juno, who wakes up in the back of the limo with a dead driver and the broken end of a bridge fast approaching. Her eyes get cartoonishly wide and all she can say is, "Oh shit," before the limo careens into the ocean, presumably killing her instantly, while Helen is just barely pulled out of the limo in time. 6. Khan quotes Moby Dick. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Throughout Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, legendary villain Khan frequently quotes and paraphrases Moby Dick, which makes sense given the film's clear thematic inspiration from the novel. Khan is not unlike the book's vengeful Captain Ahab, a comparison cemented in his final scene, where his ship, the Reliant, is defeated by the Enterprise, leaving him gravely wounded. In an attempt to kill his foes as well as himself, Khan activates the terraforming tech known as the Genesis device, while quoting Ahab's own vicious tirade from the end of the novel. "To the last I grapple with thee. From hell's heart I stab at thee. For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee." And like that, Khan appears to die seconds before the Genesis device detonates, incinerating the Reliant and Khan's remains with it. It was nothing if not a fittingly badass way for Trek's finest foe to meet his end. 5. Just Drive. THELMA and Louise. Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise touts one of the most famous and widely parodied endings in cinema history, as the titular best friends on the run are finally cornered by the FBI on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Rather than go to prison or even face the electric chair for murdering a man who attempted to rape Thelma, she suggests they keep going, and the pair exchange tearful glances as they each recognize the full extent of what that means. Louise then drives the car off the Grand Canyon edge, hurtling through the sky before the image freeze frames and fades to white mid-air. The precise outcome technically unknown, but the grimly triumphant implication clear. 4. We Die. The Last Starfighter. Cult classic 1984 sci-fi film The Last Starfighter touts one of the all-time finest and most dignified acceptances of a violently explosive death in movie history. When the villainous Lord Krill realizes that the mothership's guidance controls have been disabled by hero Alex Rogan and the ship is irreversibly locked into the gravitational pull of Rylos's moon, a fellow Kadan officer asks him what they're going to do. In the most calm tone imaginable, a mournful Krill waits for his monocle to swing around to his eye before replying, "We die." Seconds later, the ship crashes into the moon and explodes in a gigantic fireball. It's a fitting death for a smart and competent villain, stoically accepting his fate rather than raging helplessly against the unavoidable tide of fate. 3. Dignam's Revenge, The Departed. For a moment, it seemed like Martin Scorsese's remake of Infernal Affairs is going to deliver the same bleak ending as the original, with undercover cop Billy Costigan being killed, and the mob's mole inside the police force, Colin Sullivan, getting away scot-free. And though Costigan does indeed die, Scorsese sensibly decided to deliver a crowd-pleasing comeuppance for the last villain standing, as Sullivan returns home to his apartment to find hot-headed former Staff Sergeant Sean Dignam waiting for him. By taking one look at Dignam, who is shaking with rage while pointing a gun at him and wearing gloves and white crime scene booties, Sullivan knows his number is up and there is no way out. After a tense pause, Sullivan lets out a resigned, "Okay," and Dignam shoots him in the head, killing him instantly. 2. Todd Gets Melted, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Death scenes don't get much more iconic, satisfying, or freaking gruesome than the demise of Gestapo agent Arnold Todt at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. When the Nazis open the Ark of the Covenant, anyone who keeps their eyes open is subjected to the wrath of God, as spirits and flames kill each and every one of them, sparing only Indy and Marion, who kept their eyes closed. In Todt's case, he screams in terror as he watches a nearby Nazi officer's face melt, mere seconds before his own face melts directly off his skull, in a scene that's given children nightmares for over 40 years. Todt had a few precious seconds to process what was about to happen to him, which must have made his death that much more terrifying. You love to see it. 1. Clifford antagonizes the Sicilian. True romance. And finally, we have one of the most brilliantly written and acted death scenes in cinema history, from Tony Scott's Quentin Tarantino-penned crime thriller, True Romance. The film revolves around newlyweds Clarence and Alabama, who find themselves on the run from the mob after accidentally stealing a shipment of drugs. This brings them into the realm of mob boss Vincenzo Cocotti, who, in an attempt to track the couple down, pays a visit to Clarence's father, Clifford. Clifford, obviously having no intention of giving up his son's location and being well aware he's a dead man either way, decides to cut the torture short by effectively goading Cocotti into murdering him. In a glorious monologue, he provokes the evidently racist Cocotti by suggesting that Italians are descended from black people, calling him part eggplant. In turn, an enraged Cocotti shoots him dead, his own racism having effectively been used against him. Genius. And there you have it, folks, 10 even more best I'm Dead and I Know It's movie moments. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.